الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. لا ilaha illallah. I saw someone saying history repeats itself. It does not. Sometimes we say things, but we need to reflect on it. History repeats itself. It is the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because history does not have any will to repeat itself. So to be mindful that it's not the history, it's the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He made and making, like, governing the whole, action of the humankind. That's the law of Allah. That's the law of the Sharia, actually. The law of the Sharia. The rise and the fall of the civilization is the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The happiness, the sadness, the depression is, according to the law of Allah. And this law is as accurate, as precise as you see in the physical world from the law of the nature. It's exactly the same. So history does not repeat itself. I mean, of course, people, they say it in a casual way without intending, and by observation everybody is saying it. But for a believer, we need to say it in the way that pleases Allah, and say it in the way of the truth. Because when you say history repeats itself, which is mean like we excluding the will of Allah, it just repeating itself is like way of blind faith, automatic course of history. And there's many of the philosophers, actually, they try to make the philosophy of the history is like the law of history, like Karl Marx, through the dialectism of anyway, I'm not gonna give you a headache. But so it is the law of Allah. That's what we're trying, that's what we are studying in the book of Allah. And then what we said, along with instruction, admonition to assure such intervention. How Allah will be helping you? Only if you fulfill those conditions. Because the history didn't repeat itself for the Muslim Ummah to get back their establishment on earth. Why we are not like in the Andalusi period, or in the High Abbasi period, or in the Umayyi period, or in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Why? Because we are not fulfilling the Qur'an. Then it does not repeat itself. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. Well, let's continue to finish, and then inshallah we'll continue our chapter. Okay, we have time. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about the arrogance of the disbeliever, the doubt, and the way how the hypocrite, they're working to cast doubt into the heart of the disbeliever, justifying all what they're doing is wrong. They said their faith deluded them, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a glimpse of the hereafter. If you only could see when the angel take the soul of the disbeliever, beating their faces and their backs, billah, saying, taste the torment of burning. This is reality. This is reality. This is the link of this world, the physical world, and the unseen. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala going, and then the law in the war, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned here. He said, namely those with whom, O Prophet, have entered into treaties, but they violate them every time, not fearing the consequences. So those are the worst of the walking creature in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then if you ever encounter them in battle, make fearsome example of them, so perhaps those who would follow them may be deterred. Then if someone that you have see signs of betrayal by people, do not respond by betrayal. Respond by openly terminating your treaty with them. This is the law. This is the akhlaq. You see, the moral of Islam and the character and the good conduct and the moral, the akhlaq, it does not apply on you, on your self-conduct, within yourself, or only with your family, or only with your people. No, it applies everywhere, and with everyone, and with everything. I mean, we have akhlaq to deal with water, akhlaq to deal with the tree, akhlaq to deal with the places. Look, when you enter the haram, you have to be in peace, fully in peace in haram. You don't have the right to cut tree, you don't have the right to chase animal or scare them. It's all, subhanAllah, this is the rights, how the akhlaq. When it comes in war, it's the same. The Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu calling and shouting to the whole army of Zayd ibn Thabit. Stop, he said, stop, stop. They heard that he's going to tell them to do, such an important thing. And it was very important. He said, do not touch anyone who does not have a weapon. Do not touch women, children, elders. No cut tree, no burn farms, no burn anything. That's not the akhlaq of a Muslim. This is the last thing he said. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reassured the believers, and let not those who disbelieve think they will escape. Indeed, they will not cause failure to Allah. And this is his come. Someone said, okay, we don't have the means. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, prepare against them what you believer can of military power, and prepare against them whatever you are able of power, and steeds of war. I told you here in this class, I said about Saifuddin Qutz, in this class or the other class. Yeah, Saifuddin Qutz, he was like, leading the whole army, but the whole army, like, they were like coming from all over. Farmers with their axes, the Sufi in their towers coming down with their sticks. Just fight. And they defeated the biggest army at the time, the Mongols, who later accepted Islam. Then it continues. One of also very amazing unseen is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala favor to bring together the heart of the believer. And then Allah showed that it is impossible for you, Ya Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best of the creation, to make it be, to have it be done. Is impossible. If you had spent all that is in the earth, you could not have brought their hearts together. But Allah brought them together. Subhanallah. This is the unseen. And joined their hearts. Had you given away all the riches of the earth, you could not have joined their heart. But it is Allah who joined their hearts. Indeed, He is the Almighty, the All-Wise, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about another aspect. You see, He said, subhanallah, and if there are 20 steadfast among you, they will overcome 200. And if there are 100 of you, they will overcome 1,000. For they are people who do not comprehend the mighty of Allah. Then He said, now Allah has lightened your burden. It's not Allah is going to hold you accountable. You were 20 and you didn't defeat 200. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that you have weakness in you. So if there are 100 steadfast among you, they will overcome 200. And if there be 1,000, they will overcome 2,000. So Allah's help, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is, again, revealing Allah's unseen intervention, help in fulfillment of the criteria, along with instruction and admonition to assure such intervention. So this is the balance. So in the midst of Allah showing you His help to you, His unseen that you don't know, Allah is revealing to you all His help. But in the same time telling you what to do and what not to do to preserve that balance and to preserve the companionship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, in the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala solved the story of the Anfal, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, it is not for the Prophet to have captives of war until he inflicts a massacre in the land. Desire the commodities of this world, but Allah desires for you the hereafter, and Allah is exalted in might and wise. This ayat has a tafsir, so it's not like you see it here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala want the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to kill all the disbeliever or to massacre. And actually it's not the proper word to say, take captives until he has sufficiently suppressed the enemies in the land. This is the best one. You merely seek the gains of world, whereas Allah's desire of hereafter. So they were thinking of, exchanging the captives with money and things. So it was not in the first battle. You cannot do that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when the believer they establish, He opened for them. You can forgive them, or you can, free them, against a ransom, as Allah mentioned in Surah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. لولا كتاب من الله سبق. Had it not been a prior decree from Allah, you would have certainly been disciplined with a tremendous punishment. I mean, when the Prophet ﷺ received this ayah, because the opinion of Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu was to really, execute them, because they are betrayed. They are the people who came to fight you, And the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr said, no, this is our, distant family. We cannot do that. So when Allah sent down this ayah, and the Prophet ﷺ started to cry, and Abu Bakr cried, because it's a reproach from Allah. So when Umar came, he said, Ya Rasulullah, Abu Bakr, the dearest, to him is the Prophet, and then Abu Bakr. Said, what are make you cry? Let me know so I can cry with you. Said, Ya Umar, if Allah have sent the punishment today, the only one who will be saved is you, because his opinion was. The last part, from 72 to the end of the surah. So the closing here, closing commands to secure the establishment of the truth and the uproot of the falsehood. So you see, in the beginning we have the base, establishing the truth, uprooting falsehood, and then in the end is the closing command to secure it. So if you see, for example, from 71, so like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, actually from 72, those who believe, you see, like, indeed, those who have believed and immigrated and fought with their wealth and lives in the cause of Allah, and those who gave shelter and added, they are allies of one another. So you see, but those who believed and did not immigrate, for you there is no support of them until they immigrate, and if they seek help of you of the religion. So this is like commands and instruction how to really establish the system and the procedure. As for the disbeliever, they are guardian of one another, and unless then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَالَّذِينَ, those who believed, migrated and struggled in the cause of Allah, and those who gave them shelter and help, they are the true believers. They will have forgiveness and honorable provision, and so on. And those who come after you, those later believed, migrated and struggled alongside you, they are also with you. But only blood relatives are now entitled to inherit from one another, because in the beginning of Medina time, the Prophet ﷺ, the brotherhood he established, it was brotherhood like a blood brotherhood. Then when the family of the people, like most of their kins, they start to come to Islam, then that was the first stage, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala restored the inheritance to be based on the blood relatives and faith, blood relatives and faith. Actually, faith and blood relatives. Because if there is no faith, there is no inheritance. Okay, and then when there is faith, there is inheritance, and then the inheritance is going to be based on blood relatives. Father, mother, son, daughter, and so on. So this was Surah Al-Anfal. Any question? Just as very simplified, reflections to have you an idea about how to treat a topic, and you see it with this approach that we and the method of the tree, how to simplify it, and you can look at the whole surah as a beautiful tree glittering with a lot of fruits, with a lot of wisdom, and a lot of lessons and reflections, And to see how the topic, it's very, subhanAllah, the unity of the topic, how everything is articulated as in the, so just to remind you the idea of it. So here, principle. Have an overall main topic like a tree having different elements but one root and one core. Let's have principle 3. Let's move to the principle 3, if you do not have any question. The principle 3, when pondering on the Qur'an, one should consider the following elements. And this is very important, I mean, even in our daily life. Because it is a necessity to understand, and I say essential and necessary to understand, to put things within a context, within a reality. Because when you read things and you think, in the absolute, then it will not be able for you to implement it. It cannot be practical. It cannot be something that you can implement. Or when you want to implement, it's either there's, if you read things in the absolute and you understand in the absolute and you do not really pay attention to the reality around you, then what you're going to do is going to isolate yourself from the reality, or you force the reality to break it, it's like the reality has to adapt to your own, interpretation, and that's not right. This comes especially in the implementation of the laws of the Sharia. But here when it comes to the Qur'an, it helps us to have better understanding. The scholar, rahimahumullah ta'ala, for example, they divided the action of the Prophet ﷺ to different categories. So the Prophet ﷺ acted, alayhi salatu wasalam, in different way, in different aspects. He acted as the Imam of the muttaqeen, of all the pious. He acted as the chief of state. He acted as the commander of army. He acted as a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He acted as a father. He acted as a husband. Therefore, to understand the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, one need to take in consideration this. So the command of the Prophet ﷺ that he did while he is under the role of a commander of army cannot be taken by anybody except by a commander of army. So this is an aspect which is very clear. What is not clear is the way, the tone, the way how you speak, the vibration, let's say, the way of your speaking. If it's like, it has a tone of anger, it has a tone of urgency, it has a tone of it's okay. All of that, subhanAllah, you have to extract it from the words. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, la junaha alaykum, there is no blame, no objection on you, which is you have the option. But he said, aqimu salata. It's like an obligation. You cannot say, oh, that's okay. No, it's not okay. You have to do it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is what we call dalalatul alfaz. So the thing that we need to be, reflecting on, قال تصور العصر الإسلامي الأول وقع حال الذين كانت تتنزل عليهم الآيات. So consider the early Islamic era and the reality of those upon whom the Quranic verses were revealed to teach. Guide and nurture them. So this includes an understanding of their general environment and the prevailing concept among them in general. I'll give you a very obvious example which is not related. Many people, they always, the non-Muslim, they come, to, when they want to debate or like argue about Islam, they say, oh, your Prophet married Aisha when she was 9 years old. Okay. Nobody has the right to answer this question in the context of the society of today, because nobody will comprehend it. Okay? But if you look at the context of Quraysh at that time, you find it's very it's very common in their time for an 18 years lady to be a grandmother. That's why we said we have to study the context. 18 years. And the funny thing is, there is a lot of laws, let states, they allow the marriage with minors. But look how awkward and how pervert they are, or what they talk about is the age of consent to do the haram thing. It's lawful to marry because if they can, in many states, with the permission of their parents. But the age of consent to do haram thing, that is the question. So, when these pervert people, they ask this question about the Prophet, is that age of consent in their mind, not in the marriage, because in many of these states it is, and many of the countries is halal. It's not the case, it's not the topic to talk about, but to give you an understanding how the context, the social context, the environment is very important to understand, to help you understand better the Qur'an. The other thing, تصور الحالة النفسية والفكرية. Consider examining the psychological, intellectual, and social condition of the people of the time when particular Qur'an verses were revealed, with a specific focus on those verses designated for study or contemplation. تصور الظرفين الزماني والمكاني اللذين أنزلت فيهما الآيات الموضوعة للتدبر والدراسة. Consider the historical context and geographical location in which particular Quran verses were revealed for contemplation and study. So this is all help you to have that reality, to see, subhanAllah, first, one of the most important element, I personally believe, is to not read the Quran in the absolute way, which is mean like dissociated from a reality, from a physical world. Like the movies they make. People, they live into the movies. Everything is sci-fi and what they call them? Those people with powers. That's Avengers, or those people, And people, they believe that. That's what their mind is there. So they dream like, saving the world. And funny, everyone is saving the world. Everybody is saving the world. Immoral, pervert in their mind and in their heart, and they're saving the world. If you do not have any immorality, why you care about the world? And always there's like few people, and it becomes like so powerful. And this is, subhanAllah, the psychology of the people. This is what they live. So they subhanAllah, nurturing people with an image that does not exist. When you read the Qur'an, and you imagine the context and the social context, you know that the Sahaba existed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the example, for example, in Surah Al-Sajdah, that from the Sunnah to read on Friday. Surah Al-Sajdah. Quiet one. It says Sajdah. I'll just give you a few examples. And you can explore a lot of examples. I invite you to, just when you read the surah, just imagine the time that they lived in. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking about the true believers. إِذَا ذُكِّرُوا بِهَا, and our revelation are those when they are reminded by them, fall down in prostration and exalt Allah with praise of their Lord, and they are not arrogant. They abandon their beds, invoking their Lord with hope and fear, and donate from what we have provided them. Their sides part from their beds, they supplicate their Lord. Their sides forsake their beds. These are not avengers. These are true people. This they wake up, they cannot sleep in the night. So it helps you to imagine what powerful iman that they have in their heart to be like this. Who's tell us about them? Is Allah. So these people existed. These people are true. It's not in the absolute. You said, oh no, these people like they are in the Qur'an, which is like unreachable. No, they are in the Qur'an to be your role model. It's not a fiction. It's not subhanallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He addressed to the human being, He addressed to us with our weakness. خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. With our nature of hasty. وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ عَجُولًا. وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ أَكْثَرَ شَيْءٍ جَدَلًا. Always arguing. That's our nature. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressing to us with our nature to cleanse us and raise us and to have us to be in this, like in the level of these great people. Surah Al-Ankabut, Surah Al-Isra. Look, just take the case of the believers. The case of the believers. The case of the believers. So these people of book, believers, waiting for the message of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look how they react to the Qur'an. Say, a prophet, believe in it or do not believe. I mean, you're not gonna, when you come to Islam, you're not gonna add anything to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're only gonna benefit in it. Indeed, those who were given knowledge before it, when it is recited to them, they fall upon their faces in prostration. Fall. Because in Arabic, kharru is like almost jumping. Because sajada is to prostrate. But to fall into prostration, it's like there is that hasty action of obedience, of submission, and devotion, and humility. It's like jumping into sujood. It's like, subhanAllah, there is a power into hold your soul that make you to go down to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Exactly the same verb, use it for the sorcerer of Fir'aun when they saw the sign. خروا سجدا قالوا آمنا برب هارون وموسى. Then look, and they say, glory be to our Lord, surely the promise of your Lord has been fulfilled. See, they promise. وَيَخِرُّونَ لِلْأَذْقَانِ. And they fall down upon their faces weeping. And it increases them in humility. Yeah? People, if they don't know, I mean, weeping from the fear of Allah, from the love of Allah, this is a reality. It's not a fiction. Just just randomly to give you ideas, in this principle. Look Surah Al-Shu'ara. Surah Al-Shu'ara. We'll go through Surah Al-Shu'ara, some of the story of Musa alayhi salam. Look, Musa alayhi salam. Musa is a human being, right? He's not a Superman, a human being. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to go and to take the mission to Pharaoh, this is a human being speaking. My Lord, I fear that they will reject me. And so my heart will be broken, and my breast will be tightened, and my tongue will not be fluent, so send for Aaron. وَلَا يَنْطَلِقُ لِسَانِي. And this lisan here, not because he has impediment in his tongue, but when someone he has his chest, subhanAllah, tightened, he cannot even speak. He's out of fear. Or like, subhanAllah, So it's not easy to be in front of a tyrant and all his army and minister, and this is the human being. See how true? Then when you take the context, you cannot say, we have to understand it from our perspective, as perspective of being human being. And see, subhanAllah, if you were there instead of Musa, I mean, one of us will have faint. Not like still talking. Huh? And they have a charge against me, a claim due to me, so I feel that they will kill me. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, go. We are with you, both listening. So when they came to Fir'aun, they gave him the message, let the children of Israel go with us. Look, subhanAllah, this is the media. This is the politics. I want you to understand the politics. I'm going to show you politics. There's here many actors have politics. There's the minister, and there's the religion, the people of religion, who are presented by the sorcerer here. And you have the media. In a context of the society of Fir'aun. And when you take it in context of the society, you'll see everything is today as, subhanAllah, as the way we live in it. طيب. Look what Fir'aun said. Did we not raise you among us as a child, and you remained among us for years of your life? So, everything starts with October 7. There's nothing happened before. It's like, Musa, we didn't take care of you. Huh? We've been providing you air, providing you this. And then, look how cunning, smart in their cunning, these people. وَفَعَلْتَ فَعْلَتَكَ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَ وَأَنْتَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. And then you did you did which you did, and you were of the ungrateful. Tell you what he did. Because if he said, you fought with the person and you hit him and he killed, then it becomes like small. Everybody's going to interpret it. He said maybe he was defending himself. But he didn't say Fir'aun to make the sin of Musa to be like, the most, the tremendous, the worst. وَفَعَلْتَ فَعْلَتَكَ الَّتِي فَعَلْتَ وَأَنْتَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. And you did what you have done, and you are like ungrateful, disbeliever to your Lord Fir'aun. This is what? Politics. He said everything right. Musa, he grew up in the palace of Fir'aun. He did. And he killed the man. He killed, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Qasas. But it's not the version that the way how Fir'aun made. So Fir'aun, in his speech to make look, Musa is the worst person because he's ungrateful. Ungrateful to the favor and the gift of Fir'aun. Look Musa alayhi salam, how he answered. He said, okay, I did it. And I am from those astray in your sight. Why I told you the 7th of October? Because Musa alayhi salam, he's going to go back to the roots. He said, and why personally I will be in your castle if you are not the transgressor who killed my own people? You look, قال ففعلت إذا وأنا من الضالين ففررت منكم لما خفتكم. So I fled from you, I feared you. Then my Lord granted me wisdom and made me one of the messenger. Then he said, and تلك نعمة, and if this is a favor of which you remind me that you have enslaved my people. If you didn't have enslaved them, if you were not oppressor to them, I would never have came to your palace. See? This is how the transgressors, they start with one point to blind everybody else about the roots of the issue. We'll go further. طيب. So when he faced them with the miracles, they were saying, here, look how they were, discussing and counseling between each other. قال للملأ حوله إن هذا لساحر عليم. Pharaoh said to the chiefs around him, he's indeed a skilled magician. Okay? So who instilled the idea, kind of an inception, subhanallah, of idea that he's a magician? Pharaoh. Or one of the people around him. Because in the other ayat, some of those around him, they said it, and he mimicked it. He said it right away. Because in this way, he's defeated inside, scared, insecure. He does not know what to do because he's a human being. He's not a god. He's not emperor. He does not have anything. He's nothing. And then the plot starts. What he said. This is the plot that they going to accuse Musa with it. يريد أن يخرجكم من أرضكم بسحره فماذا تأمرون. Suddenly, in this context, Fir'aun became the good father of the whole nation, the one who cared about them. He wants to exile you, to take you from your home. He's like, this is your land. This is يخرجكم بسحره, with his magic. فماذا تأمرون. So what do you propose? They replied, let him and his brother wait and dispatch mobilizers to all the cities. They will bring you very skilled magician. Okay, they come up, he's a magician. And he's saying he wants to take these innocent people, these good people, our subject, he's going to take them out. He's going to delude them. He's going to lead them astray. He's a kafir. So Fir'aun now became the good leader, the one who cared about his nation, the guy who cared about his people, and so on. So the magicians were assembled at the set time of the appointed day. And then they said to the people, will you join the gathering so that we may follow the magician if they prevail? You see? So they have another plan. Let's do the magician and we'll see what is going to happen. So this is the people who are plotting, Fir'aun and his people and those under him. So this is here the power, the ruler, and the politics. And those who are calling people to come, these are the news. So when the magician they came, who made them? Fir'aun himself. They were asking, these people, they only seek for money. Should we have a suitable reward if we prevail? The answer of Fir'aun showed that he was already defeated in his heart. He's insecure. He's scared. Fir'aun is scared. Look what he said. He said, oh yeah, and you will certainly among those closest to me. He's scared. Because this is low caste or low like this, they're going to be closer to the emperor. So Musa alayhi salam said, cast whatever you will to cast. Look here. What they said. By Far'u Izzah, it is we who will surely prevail. So here the Izzah is the honor, the might, prevailing, domination, money, status, all of it in the hand of Fir'aun. So the inquiring the Izzah of Fir'aun when the Izzah only belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see, bi'izzati Fir'aun, by the might of Fir'aun. Because all their heart is attached to the worldly life. The worldly life, who going to give them the whole world in their hand is Fir'aun. They're going to be the closest to the emperor. They cannot even dream something that is even can happen in their lifetime. When they saw threw down his staff and he devoured the object of their illusion, then this is, subhanAllah, the criteria. Here the criteria. You need to be truthful with yourself. Fir'aun is a tyrant. Everybody knows that. he's faking now to be nice. And they are very skilled magicians. They know what they cast is an illusion. But what they're seeing is reality, is true. Are they going to continue to fake themselves and follow a fake might of Fir'aun? Or just really believe and follow the true might of the God of Musa? That's the decisive here. So the magician, they fell down prostrating. That's it. They took the right decision. And then how he threatened them, you know the story. Now, when Musa alayhi salam left, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, for you will surely be pursued. Because he promised him that you're not going to be pursued. They're going to be treaty, they're going to be stopped. You just leave us alone, remove all the signs of infliction that they had, the flood, the blood, the locusts, and so on. SubhanAllah, here the news comes. The Pharaoh said, mobilize to all the cities. These are but small band, outcasts, rebels. Rebels mean like they have to be killed. Are they rebels? Who have really enraged us. But we are all on the alert. SubhanAllah. So you see how the part of the news in all the cities, they have only one news. So anyone who listens to the news of Fir'aun, what are you going to say? Oh, these outcasts, just handful of people who are causing, trouble to our emperor and the worst of the people, and we need to join our leader to really eradicate them. So see, this is kind of a context when you go, subhanAllah, see it, how you see the similarity between their time and our time. The religious people here, they are more likely to be the sorcerers. Because magic, it was there, for them is like, controlling people, guiding people. People, they go to the sorcery is as a way of guidance. So them, you see, they didn't dispute or argue about morality, the only money. And today, many of the religious people, subhanAllah, they put their hand with the leader, tyrant leader, to serve their agenda instead of serving the way of morality or the way of Allah for those who are Muslims. So this is one of the examples, a very small example, inshallah. You can take other example on your own, and if you have any question, we can, inshallah, study them. One of the, maybe we'll get another example, which is the example of short surahs. Surah Al-A'la, for example. Surah Al-A'la revealed in Mecca, the early Meccan period, or Surah Al-Ghashiyah. Both are the same. So one of the very, the characteristic of this surah have short ayah. Short ayah. Message strong and brief. It's like, subhanAllah, shooting arrows to the heart. So the Meccan period, what was the issue? Or what is the, the new message is working on, is to build the creed, is to build the aqidah. And build the aqidah is very difficult. Why? Because you're not asking someone to stop drinking these things and start to drink something else. If he tasted, he liked it, he said, okay, But here is to change the perception, to change the worldview. How come someone, for example, used to look at something adore it, like it, without even saying any opinion about it. People at the time, they consider wine is something normal, something of fun, and something, you know, people they are proud of. How can you make them hate such a thing? So this is a big message. So it's really kind of erasing the old perception to replace it by a perception based on the way of the divine. So the context here, what will serve, is the short ayah that hit with a specific crime to keep, like, subhanallah, you know, people sometimes they hear something, they keep, because it's short, they keep repeating it. You know, sometimes someone wake up, or like he find himself saying the same thing. It might be a rhyme or a part of chanting, you know. So this is the rhyme, subhanallah, how it affects and it has an impact on one's psychology and one's heart. And then it changed things. So غاشية, خاشعة, ناصية, حامية, آنية, ضريع. ضريع is the whole sound change. So if you read it, they will have no food except a foul, thorny shrub. Then when you realize it is like it's hitting so deep. Then ناعمة, راضية, عالية, لاغية, جارية, مرفوعة, موضوعة, مصفوفة, مبثوثة. All of it like so sweet. This is the Jannah. And then with very short, you know, description of a bliss that everyone wished to have. Then call to contemplation. Do they not ever reflect on camels, how they were masterfully created? So that perception give you a glimpse, and then invite you to see the vast horizon of the universe around you, to really embrace those messages, and that's what's going to be changing your perception. So this is the intellectual part that we are talking about here. The intellectual part. الحالة النفسية. الحالة النفسية, I'll give you just an example that we have mentioned in Surah Al-Anfal. The state of the believers, how they were scared, is like being dragged to death. So someone cannot like read it like he think like he's like, you know, the greatest knight ever existed, and he said, the Sahaba, they were scared. They said, you are disrespectful, and with no comment. However, if you look at the disbeliever or the hypocrite, you see, subhanAllah, the hypocrisy, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describe it even in their eyes. Psychology, and so on. طيب. Any question concerning this one? Before the break, I will show you the new system from which you can download all these notes. Okay. Any question concerning this? طيب. No question. Principle 4. By the way, next week there will not be classes, inshallah. Not because if it's chicken day, right? Inshallah, I will be judging in a Qur'an competition in Seattle. Inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Yes. Myself, Sheikh Walid, and another Sheikh. Allah yahfaz. طيب, this question. Books to recommend to learn about the history of that time. Of course, the books of the Sirah. The books of the Sirah. Or the tafsir of the Qur'an, if you want, very specific, you know. And there's books of history written by, you know, Muslims, you know. Before Islam is Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya Ibn Kathir, the beginning of the end by Ibn Kathir. Also the book of Ibn Athir, but those are very big books. But if there is a specific topic, someone can share it and we can, you know, help them find something, you know, a book about it. Yes.
For the sources from your scholarly standpoint, I thought they would use more of as a fear factor, but how is it also served as like the religious people?
Because in this society, for example, you have rulers, you have the politics, the ministers and everything. What they need also else, you know, the people who have that, you know, the faith part, religion part. Because the religion part, it might be like pagan things. Pagan before they do sacrifice of human lives. And you find the king himself standing or sitting or comes to that celebration because that's what the people they believe. There's people that believe that if you do, the king does not do the rites or the ritual for certain pagan things, it's like, you know, they're not going to have rain the whole year. So they do it. Why? Because, you know, this is what the people believe, not because they believe it. So they have to have control of the subject under them. Sorcery in the time of Pharaoh was the dominant way of like what is related with the unseen. Because when you say religion, things to connect people with the unseen. You know, being like fate, like, you know, fortune tellers, magic things, people they do magic to change their future, to get things, to get money. So that's its faith in something that didn't happen. So it becomes like a religion. It's exactly like a religion. And it was a religion. Actually, in the story of the king, the boy and the king that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Buruj, I mean, he was an apprentice of a sorcerer, and then he found the scholar. He learned from him. So he became a believer. But the sorcerer was the sorcerer of the king. So when people, they want to like have riots or like protesting, he comes out and with his stick, he said, if you don't stop, I will, you know, cast you with the spell, everybody will run away. So it becomes like a tool of terrorizing people, scare them, because it's unseen. That's how it plays as a role of religion. And to little bit compare. And the other is the news. Gather people, imagine goes in the town and village and people like with their, you know, a drum. Yeah, the Pharaoh said this, that's the news. Or they have it like everywhere, like notes. That's the news. And what they control the news is the ruler. Anyone who say anything is going to be killed. So only the official people who go in the streets, you know, to give this news are the people from the government. Like today. Principle 4. The complementarity and the integrity of the text of the Qur'an. So the text of the Qur'an complement each other and they have full integrity. The repetition in the Qur'an is commonly used to convey more meanings and rarely used for confirmation. For example, the story of Musa, you find it how many times? It is a repetition? No, it's more meaning. Every time you read it, there's every surah, it has totally different meaning. I mean, more meaning. Very rarely to confirm, to say like, you know, affirming what it has been said. So the principle in this regard is establishment rather than affirmation. So our principle here, when you read the same ayah almost in another place in the Qur'an, put in your mind, seek a new meaning. Learn a new meaning. Don't say, oh, this is what Allah said in the other ayah. Okay? When pondering on a specific topic in the Book of Allah, one should focus on aspect of complementarities and integration and the integration of meanings, excluding the idea of confirmation. Because it's very easy, said, oh, Allah said it in the other ayah, so it's the same. No, it's not the same. Just get that from your mind that is the same. There are many topics and stories repeated in the Qur'an. Topics of zakat, topics of sadaqah, topics of salat, topics of jihad, stories. You find the story of Nuh, how many times? The story of Musa, Salih, Hud. Many, they are repeated. A superficial reading might make them look as mere repetition for the sake of confirming each other. Said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about the Sahara of Musa, they went in sujood. In Surah Al-A'raf, in Surah Taha, in Surah Al-Shu'ara. I remember we have Tafsir al-Mawdu'i, Tafsir by topic. In one of the questions of the exam, it was like, to take the story of the sorcerers in the different surahs and analyze them, see the difference between them. And can you extract a full topic, subhanallah, on the piety, how to raise piety, how to gain piety, and what is needed, the truthfulness, that, firm decision within yourself to be like, in a way, not wishy-washy. You need to be like strong, standing, not let your nafs, leading you or misleading you. You see it, this is the truth. So, subhanAllah, it helps you build a whole concept and whole ideas about how the sorcerer of Fir'aun managed to make that sujood. When you read them all. So, one should focus on aspect of complementarity and the integration of meaning, excluding the idea of confirmation. There are many topics, stories repeated in the Quran. A superficial reading might make them look as mere repetition for the sake of confirmation each other. But after careful study, one can find that they are actually complementing each other and in the same time confirming and providing educational elements. If you take the example of the sujood of the Sahara, you say it's amazing. It is amazing. I mean, what they have said in Surah Taha, what they have said in Surah Al-Shu'ara, what they said in Surah Al-A'raf, it's amazing. You learn from them. That's why they are in the Quran. Some of the wisdom which one can derive from pondering on one story in the Quran and the way it is mentioned in different surahs. So let's say, for example, the story of Musa alayhi salam. Having the story first to be mentioned with multiple expressive and eloquent way. That's one great aspect. Imagine someone has the skills of writing and had very skills of expression. If he tell you the story in one way, you receive it with that way that the person said it. But then he used different words, different vocabulary, different tone. It becomes, subhanAllah, more rich, the same story, the same thing that you have listened. So to have the story to be mentioned with multiple expressive and eloquent way provides more richness and meanings to the story. And who is speaking is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second, having the story to be mentioned as evidence or illustration to matters, instruction, commands, reminders to fulfill learning, educational, and guiding purposes. The other aspect, the story comes in a context within a surah to be an evidence. He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, for example, the people of Quraysh, they say and they reject. He said, before them, the people of Nuh, they denied. So he gave them evidence. And look what we have done for them. So here the story was when it was introduced as within the context of that surah to answer or to instruct or to give evidence or to set a law, and so on. Then achieving integrative excellence in narrating the story. And it truly is a miracle because nobody can do that. Achieving an integrative excellence in narrating the story. طيب, let's take the first example. Prohibition of killing children. We have Surah Al-Isra, Ayah 31. Surah Al-Isra, Ayah 31. I think, I don't know what happened. Do you have the screen? Yeah, it came back. طيب, we said Surah Al-Isra. What ayah did we say? 31. Okay. The other one is Surah Al-An'am and 151. Surah Al-An'am 151. Al-An'am 6 151. طيب. So, do not kill your children for fear of poverty. We provide for them and for you. Surely killing them is heinous sin. This is Revelation 50, and this is the order of Revelation 55. Do not kill your children for fear of poverty. We provide for you and for them. So, it's the same ayah. Do not kill your children. We provide for you and for them. So the topic is here, prohibition to kill your children. It's either existing children or not born children, which is the abortion. قال ولا تقتلوا أولادكم من إملاق, and do not kill your children for fear of poverty. We provide for you and for them. Now we're going to dig into the differences. He said, remember, provide for you and for them, right? The other one, what he said, and do not kill your children for fear of poverty. We provide for them and for you. Now we have difference here. Okay? So how are we going to explain this difference? So here what he said in Surah Al-An'am. Surah Al-Isra, Surah Al-An'am. He said, do not kill your children for fear of poverty. Actually, this is not right. I'm sorry. Do not kill your child out of poverty. The family are poor. Okay? So, who are eating with them? The kids. They need to disappear. So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, who need to be secure? Whose heart need to be secured here? The parents. We provide for you. So why are you caring about them? It's me who providing for you. Leave them alone. And them. You see? The other ayah, what he said? He said, fear of poverty. They're not poor. I said, you know, we should not get children. How much? It's going to cost us and cost us and cost us and this is, we're going to be. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we provide for them. When they come, they're going to come with their rizq. You're not going to do any effort, you. It's Allah is providing for them. You see, fear, provide for them and for you. So the person, the first, is out of poverty. Allah securing their heart. I'm your provider. They are not reducing your provision. And the one who planning to not have children or more children, why? Because they're poor, or they are gonna make them poor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, they are provided by Allah. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gift you with a child, his provision is gonna come with him. He's gonna come holding his bag of provision. Don't be scared. Actually, you're going to have more barakah when you're going to have the child. So you see the difference. So in the beginning, it's like, look the same. Look the same. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's treating all the cases, fear of poverty or being in poverty. So by fear of poverty, why you are planning and forgetting about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you're going to subhanahu wa ta'ala provide for your child, He's going to give him a sure income, guarantee his provision. And if you are poor, the one who's providing you is Allah. It's not like the bite that you take from your mouth to give it to your child is going to cause you poverty or you're going to die. Actually, your provision is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is, subhanAllah, to strengthen one's heart, since the reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every situation, in poverty or fear of poverty, you should not integrate the children as a way to justify, you know, your financial state or your situation. And that's when someone will becomes easy prey to the shaitan and will be drowning into, subhanAllah, and consuming themselves with a lot of worries of finance and things and killing themselves when the provider is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wadah, this one. Any other question concerning this? So the other one, قال من إملاق, and the other one خشية إملاق. من إملاق, out of poverty, and the other one خشية إملاق, fear. So if I tell you out of poverty, by common sense, what is going to be? Provide you and them, or provide them and you? Out of poverty. Common sense. You first. Yeah. So when you see it, you see? We provide you and for them. And the other one, do not kill children out of, provide for them. This is fear. And this translation is not good. It's out of poverty. You see, that's why I said be careful in choosing the translation. So you see here, he put fear. No, this is which ayah? Yeah, this is earlier. No. Yeah, this is right. However, here you see he said, do not kill for fear of poverty. That's wrong. It's not. The second one is right, out of poverty. The third one, do not, yes, out of fear. No, out of poverty, because they are in poverty. Yes. Surah Al-Isra. نحن نرزقكم وإياهم. We provide for you and them. This is when someone is in poverty. Fear of poverty, it's like if you're going to have more children, we're going to become poor. He said, نحن نرزقهم, we provide for them and provide for you and you. Another example, emulating and following the forefathers. Surah Luqman, ayah 21, Let's go. Surah Luqman, ayah 21. Ayah 21. And then the other one, Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 170. Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 170. We're going to read them together. So, which is first in the revelation is Surah Luqman, Mecca. When it said to them, follow what Allah has revealed, they say, rather we will follow that upon which we found our fathers. Even if Satan was inviting them to the punishment of the blaze fire. So they're stubborn on following their father. The other ayah said, when it said to them, follow what Allah has revealed, they say, rather we will follow that which we found our fathers doing. Even though their father understood nothing, nor were they guided. It is the same surah, the same thing, right? If you tell them follow the guidance, they say, no, we follow our fathers. We don't care about your guidance. Why should we change? So we said we have to think of the adding meaning here. So what is defer? Defer here. Defer here, قال, would they still do so even if Satan is inviting them to the torment of the blaze? أَوَلَوْ كَانَ الشَّيْطَانِ Even if Satan was inviting them to the punishment of the blaze. The other one, he said, subhanahu, would they still do so even if their forefather had absolutely no understanding or guidance? This is in Medina, and the other one is Mecca. The difference. The people in Mecca, they still, subhanAllah, you know, that sense of tribalism, sense of family is really strong. So if you say what it has been said in Baqarah, your father do not understand, it's going to repulse them. He said, look here, he said, what if your father had no understanding or guidance, even though your father understood nothing? It's an insult for in Quraysh, in the time in Mecca, not in Quraysh, in Mecca, to address it. And you want to make your da'wah to attract them. This is going to be like repulsing them if you say that. So here it came, what we're talking about. He said, what if the shaitan is just want you to take it to hellfire? You see, more suitable and more like close, you know, easy to get to the heart. Nothing have to do me, my fathers, you know, because whoever like talk of my fathers, you know, it's like people that are like so stubborn, and you know, talking about their fathers becomes like, especially in that society, you know, they declare war against you. Yeah, they do. So here, subhanAllah, when you talk about the shaitan, look how subtle, beautiful. Will they still do so? Even shaitan is inviting them to the torment of the blaze. So here we said guidance, forget about the fathers, but if you don't follow the guidance, shaitan is taking you here. Now, so it comes the hijrah, and after the hijrah comes the battle of Badr, and then people, they see the criterion. These people are totally ignorant. So here, subhanAllah, it came the time to say it openly. He said, or you follow your father who understood nothing. Now we have evidence. How nothing? If it wasn't, they understood something, we'll have won in Badr. We'll have made Muhammad and his people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to not exist anymore. But they are growing in number, and the more they you know, they lasting, the more we're hearing like amazing things comes from them. Then comes in the West, yes, because your father, they were ignorant. They do not know nothing. And see the difference here? So it's not confirmation, but it's like, subhanAllah, a style to help us, give us educational da'wah tips on how, subhanAllah, you approach people and how you talk to people. Disbeliever journey from death to hellfire. This one has 10 ayat. So this is in the journey from death to hellfire, how the disbeliever, when you combine them all, the Qur'an, to see like, subhanallah, a linear, precise a journey of these people, and a reminder for all of us. The first thing that they say, we'll stop in a few minutes to give you a break, inshallah, because the salat is exactly at 6:45. And then when we come back, we'll start the second class, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and we'll do this part next time, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So, Surah Al-Mu'minun, just to have the idea, to give you, and then you will have the notes. You can, inshallah, go through them. Ayah 100. So he said, when death approached any of them, they cry, my Lord, let me go back. This is how the journey starts with the disbeliever, subhanAllah. So if you compile them all, you see a whole journey step by step, what they will be doing. So I may do good in what I left behind. Never. It is only a useless appeal they make, and there is a barrier behind them until the day they are resurrected. So what is the benefit of this? When you put them and compile them together, so you'll have like a full picture, even to remind ourselves, subhanAllah, the first issue that someone will be facing in his entire existence is death. Is death. Because the downhill starts from this point. If this point is good, everything else is good. Only the 9 ayah we're going to start to study because of this. Because if this one, قَالَ تَوَفَّتْهُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with them, تتنزل عليه الملائكة ألا تخاف ولا تحزن. For this reason, the most merciful say, die not except on a state of Islam. So die on a state of ungratefulness, وَلَعِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ, start a very harsh and, a life of chastisement, into drowning, وَلَعِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ, in the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As I have promised you, so this is the new class here. So it is Google Classroom, classroom.google.com. If you go to Google Classroom, you can sign up, and then you can say, join a class. Okay? So for example, the introduction, the keys to the understanding, you find here the notes that I showed here, they are here. You view material here, all of it is here. So when you go, you just need to enter this code. This code here, which Ibrahim, he will send it to you because I'll give it to him. This code, you can write it. The same for the other one. The keys to understanding the Qur'an, and this is the code. So it's exactly the same. واضح? And then I think you go to classwork and material, and you'll find it. And when you open it on a different window, it'll give you the option to download it here. You see, you can download it, and then you have everything. واضح? Any question? Google Classroom. We have Schoology, they closed. Alhamdulillah. This one, it was easy, very easy. I didn't know that easy because you said, oh, you need someone to guide, to give you, you know. So when I went, it's like, it was in a second. And all of you can do it in a second, inshallah. Allah yahfadka. طيب, we'll take the break, inshallah, and we'll meet you after the break.